So hello everyone, I see people joining for the Fishbowl today. The number of participants is growing. It's great to see that. And we'll spend next hour and a half together harvesting what we have learned during the NexGenLead virtual program, which this Fishbowl is part of. And while you are joining, I'd like to kindly invite you to write your name, the country you are from in the chat, and please also share your occupation. If you are a student, a university student, high school student, if you're a professional, would be great to know. Great, I see people joining from all over the world: Switzerland, Nigeria, Russia, Argentina. Myself, I'm from the Czech Republic originally, but greeting you in France right now. Hello, Stephen. From the island of Jamaica, great. Adriana is joining from Switzerland, originally Brazilian. Leo from Mexico. Truly international crowd. It's really nice to see. Gudrun, hello, Gudrun. And Carl from Germany. I'm currently living and studying in Vienna. Looks like we are, most of us, global travelers. Countries of origin somewhere, and then we are in different places. Hello, Marie-Claire. Greetings to Switzerland. And as I just mentioned, you also feel being global citizen. Marcelo. And also greetings to Penelope from Kenya. And great to see that you are a recent university graduate. Welcome to the Fishbowl. And more people are joining, so we will wait a little bit before we start with our first check-in questions. Welcome, Sylvester from Liberia. So for those who are joining, please follow the chat. You will also find the questions there that were written on the slide. You will also learn about people who have just joined and from where they are, what they do. A super interesting crowd so far. Hello, Vicky from Shanghai. Also, please feel free to share what you are doing now. If you're a student or professional, feel free to also share your field of your studies. Would be super interesting to see how diverse crowd we are today. And greetings to Janvi from India. And please accept my apologies if I am pronouncing your names in a slightly weird way. I'm trying my best and learning. And hello, Clementine. Very nice to see you here. So let's wait probably 2 more minutes, and then we will dive in the first check-in question. Hi, Monsura. Greetings to Nigeria. And I still see more people joining. Great. So while some others might be still joining the Fishbowl, and we'll definitely give them time to settle well in this virtual space we have organized. I'd like to invite you to do a little check-in together with me. Again, I shall introduce myself. My name is Lenka. I'm originally from the Czech Republic and currently greeting you from France. I work for Oikos International as a curriculum strategy manager. And I am very lucky to open this session today and co-host it with many, many great people who will share their insights and learnings. And also with Sophie and Nicholas, who are co-moderating this Fishbowl. So Sophie is waving on you. Nicholas will be your help on the chat, and he will post all the important information you might want to know on the chat, that you can also read it. So before we dive into the actual Fishbowl conversation, I'd like to ask you to do a little Mentimeter exercise. And for those of you who don't know Menti yet, don't worry, we'll guide you through this process safely. And there is the first question I wanted to ask you via Menti. So in one word, please share one activity that cheers you up these days, that makes you happy and inspire other people. In the chat, you will see the link to the Menti. When you just click on that link, you will be able to write one word, one inspiration. Feel free to use the QR code. I see also mobile phones already taking pictures, so great you are doing this. If you need a Menti code, please use it. The link should serve you itself, but in case you need a code, the code is there in the chat as well. So again, for those who have joined recently, we have a question via Menti. Please share in one word one activity that cheers you up these days. And I look forward to see the big word cloud and inspirational cloud that we will create in a couple of minutes. Great, I see people writing things. Do you still need more time, or are we ready to show the results? I see people still writing, so I'll give you a couple more seconds and then I will slowly start sharing the screen to see what we have harvested. So, can you all see my screen now? Please wave for me if you do.
We can't
Yes,
see
Linka,
but we can see your notes, Linka.
You can, how come? I'm supposed to be sharing the screen. So then I will stop sharing and I'll try once more. So how about now? Does it work? Okay, great. So there is a lot of dancing and walking. Really nice. And again, taking walks, listening to music, to people, perhaps running, coffee, very important thing for many people. Music theory. Wow, so it's also time to dive in some music theory. Super interesting topic. Swimming, drawing, playing the guitar, eating, very important. Exchanging in local hub, very cool. So some people are involved in the NexGenLead local hubs. I believe we will learn a little bit more about them today and what you have learned in these local hubs as well. So really great. Perfect. So thanks a lot for sharing. Let's then dive into the second question I prepared for you. Sophie, would you then please share again the screen? Great. I believe most of you know that the NexGenLead is a 3 weeks virtual program during which we are diving into responsible leadership competencies and into sustainability. And this whole program should help us develop into more responsible leaders who then take the actions in their communities, at the universities, at their workplaces. And in the last 2 weeks, we have been discussing these 5 leadership competencies, being self-awareness, stakeholders relations, system thinking, ethics and values, or change and innovation. You can also have a deeper look on what these competencies are about, and you will also have a chance to have a look afterwards, after I ask the question. And then please, Sophie, move to the next slide with the question. So again, go to Menti. There is a link in the chat, and vote on which of the 5 leadership competencies have you reflected upon the most. You have time to think. Also, I see some more people might have joined, so please feel free to write in the chat your name, the country where you are from, and your occupation. If you are a student or professional, what do you study, what do you do? Great. So I believe you might have enough time. So are you ready to see the results? Or do you need more time? If you are ready, please just again wave. All good? Okay. Then let me please share my screen again. So, wow, 0 ethics and values. So it means that you have it sorted out. Really nice. So we have a great crowd today. Change and innovation. So probably this is something that interests you a lot. The highest score in here, self-awareness, is the second one. Stakeholders relationships, very important as well. I'm really curious to also know why. And I believe that this might mirror in the Fishbowl conversations we are going to have very soon. And with this, I'll be slowly handing over to Sophie, who will be moderating the whole Fishbowl part. Just before I do it, I would like to do two last things to introduce you the visual harvester of today. It's Christina, and she will actually draw all the time. And in the end, she will show us a picture of the whole fishbowl today. So she will harvest what she observed, what inspired her, what sparkled in her mind to us. So Christina, welcome, and thank you very much for doing the visual harvesting today. And Sophie, I believe I can hand over now to you to introduce the fishbowl rules. Just last comment, the session will be recorded today, that we can also share it and inspire other people afterwards who couldn't make it.
Awesome. Thank you, Lenka. If you could stop sharing your screen and I could take over again to have you all with me. So yeah, as Lenka already shared, we're approaching the third week of our NexGenLead program, and the weeks focus on different action domains. So we had week 1 focused on the being, and now we're actually closing the knowing week and are going to start the doing week. And right in between the 2 weeks, we have our fishbowl conversation. So fishbowl, what is that actually? Well, it is a conversation format with 2 circles. We have an inner circle that shares and that speaks and has a conversation, and we have an outer circle who observes and thinks. Of course, everyone is invited to get into the inner circle, and we are swapping the speakers along the way so that we have kind of a nice and ongoing conversation with different people. Our fishbowl today has 2 rounds with slightly different focus topics, but more about that later. The most important thing really is that we listen to each other and that we react on what we share. So, but now how does that actually work on Zoom? The inner circle will have the cameras and the microphones on while sharing their stories, their thoughts, while the outer circle will have their cameras and microphones off. In order to only see the people in the inner circle, what you would have to do is change some Zoom settings. So please click on the video settings, which you see in the lower bar. And then there you can click on hide videos of non-video participants. And then if you turn off your camera, you are basically in the outer circle and we cannot see you anymore. So, and we know that it worked when now everyone is following these instructions, and we do not see anyone anymore but me at the moment. Does it work for everyone? Again, click on video in the lower bar, click on settings, and then on hide videos of non-video participants and turn off your video. And if we're there, that would mean that we can move on and having a look at how it actually works to move into the inner circle. So how does it work if you wanna share something with the crowd? And we came up with this mechanism that, of course, we want everyone to share and join with us. And this will work by using the raise hands function. So if you want to move into the inner circle of the conversation, what you're going to do is please click on the participants button, and then you're going to have this bar where you can raise your hand. So kind of raise your virtual hand, and you're going to see it then in the bar as well. And then once you click on it, we will see it that you want to share something, and Nicolas, our IT facilitator, will help us will help you then to join the inner circle with your video and audio. And maybe we can just try it out very quickly right now. So can you all maybe quickly raise your Zoom hand for a second? Great. I see that you do. That's awesome. Great, thank you. You can take the hands down again if you want. And if you have any questions and if it doesn't work for you, please just drop a message in the chat or write to Nicolas directly, and we will help you there. So another important point is that when someone starts his or her video to enter the conversation, someone else should actually stop her video to exit the circle, so that we always have a maximum of 4 to 5 people engaged in the middle. I will stay there in case we need some moderation, and Nicolas helps as well to bring people into the inner circle and also move people out of the inner circle. Everyone who speaks, please try to keep your contribution to around 1 or 2 minutes, so that we really can keep the conversation flowing, and that we kind of can more spontaneously react upon each other's contributions. When you want to leave the inner circle, just put off your camera again, and then another person can come in. All right, then I would say that all the Zoom things are figured out, hopefully. And we have a general understanding of how the Fishbowl works. And I would ask everyone now to really switch off your video for a second and invite the people who will start our first round to join me in the inner circle. So in round 1, we focus on how to act on our sustainability leadership and what it means to not only talk, but really do. And this is related to this action domain of doing, which we were talking about, which I was talking about earlier. So we thought of a question that can help us to think of the stories and further questions you might like to share with us. And this question is, what does it mean to put your sustainability leadership into action? What are your stories, and where do you start your action? And with this, I happily welcome Gudrun, Sylvester, Stefan, and Daniel in our inner circle for now. And they're going to start the conversation and share some of their experiences, as we know that they have great stories to share. So please introduce yourselves quickly and let us know about your stories on how and why you put your sustainability leadership into action. The floor is yours.
You can jump in, Sylvester.
Oh, okay, yes, of course. I thought you guys were actually. Let me say greetings from Liberia to all of you from your respective countries. It's actually nice to be here, and good that we can share ideas, among ourselves. So, what does it mean to put your sustainability into action? Wow, that's a very unique question. So, for me, I actually see it as leading a way. Again, leading a way. That way should be could be your idea, could be your innovation, could be your resources. It could be whatsoever to benefit the society or your very self. So I come back again as tell me as a leading a way, to benefit you yourself or the society. If that happens in that manner, you are definitely putting sustainability, into an action. So how can you really actually put your ideas or your innovation into actions? Well, individually, it takes courage. Okay, we have to recognize that it takes courage, it takes determination, it takes compassion, it take aggressive determination that will follow by action. So all should gear up with a result, because whatever you do, you don't have a result, that is absolutely, I don't want to say meaningless, but it's absolutely meaningless. So putting your sustainability into an action, meaning leading a way, leading a way to that will benefit the society or you yourself. In other way, in other definition from my own perspective, it also means gathering or putting together sustainable challenges into solution. Okay, nowadays we have identified numerous of challenges across the globe, but what matters a lot is that how can we address those challenges? That's what matters. We have discovered all of the challenges, but one thing matters is how can we turn those matters into challenges. So if we do put those challenges into solution, definitely we are putting sustainability into an action. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Just feel free to pick up the piece, whoever wants to follow up of the three of you.
Good morning or good evening to everyone. My name is Steven Snyder, and I'm a master's student studying sustainable finance and sustainable development. But my career was in banking, in corporate finance. And oh, I don't know why it muted. Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, okay. Not sure why it muted, but I was saying that, I didn't think about sustainability a lot in my career in finance. It just wasn't something that we really talked about a lot. It was about, meeting quarterly results, producing reports and sharing those with our investors and with our clients. And it wasn't very fulfilling. Like it wasn't something that made me feel good about myself or good about making the world a better place, or it didn't impact my community, right? It affected people who were a lot richer than me. It affected people who were investors. It didn't have a direct impact on my life. So when I was thinking about this question of like, how do we go into doing? How do we go into becoming responsible leaders in our community and driving change? I was thinking about how it required a lot of self-awareness of me to recognize that what I was doing wasn't what I wanted to do, and what I was doing wasn't something that was making the world a better place. And that's something I wanted to start off and share here, is that as part of this journey to become better leaders or to become responsible or sustainable, there requires a level of awareness into what you're doing and into the actions that you're having. And that can be really hard, and that can be really scary. I'm still really scared even now, 2 years into my master's program, of I don't know what I'm doing or where I will end up with my career and what impact I have on the world. But I know that I'm doing something now that is motivating, and it's a lot more rewarding, spiritually, physically, maybe someday financially, more than what I was doing before. And that's what I wanted to start off by sharing with you guys.
Can you hear me? Should I go next? Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Gudrun. I'm studying international management in Lisbon, and I'm originally from Austria. Actually, my story is kind of similar to Steven's. When I was younger, I was really into fashion, and I always wanted to become a fashion designer. So after school, I studied fashion design. And actually, when I started studying, I was really shocked to find out that the business behind fashion is actually really harming our environment, and that the fashion industry itself is one of the dirtiest industries. So like Steven said, I had this moment of self-awareness and of like reflection. What am I doing here? What am I supporting here? And then I quit my studies and started fashion management to have a greater impact. And I studied sustainable material sourcing. I studied circular economy. I studied the global supply chains that are underlying this whole system. And yeah, then I wrote my bachelor thesis on sustainable consumption in the fashion industry. And I think through this step of reflecting and being aware of what I'm doing, what I'm supporting, I was getting on the right path to become a sustainable leader in the future. So yeah, that really helped me.
Hi everyone, and thanks everyone for your beautiful contributions so far. My name is Daniel, and my background is mainly in human rights and climate justice campaigning. I've been campaigning now for kind of over 12, 13 years since I was at school, and through lots of cycles and crises and victories and failures. And I think what I come back to in terms of thinking about doing, at the core of sustainability is the importance of observing natural ecosystems and their inherent wisdom, and what we can learn and take from the world around us and how we can apply it to human societies. And I think over the years, what's kept with me is that sustainability aren't just principles to apply to the economy, but also to the way that we organize, the way that we work, the way that we campaign. And it's going to be a long discussion, but I want to take away 3 principles that I increasingly feel learn from natural ecosystems that I want to apply to leadership or campaigning or whatever you want to call it. The first is connection. The ecosystems we see around us are incredibly interconnected and diverse and rich. And for us as leaders, that means we have to be highly interconnected in our thinking and in our organizing. The many, many issues and crises we see around the world are not separate. They're fundamentally linked. So issues of gender justice, racial justice, economic justice, ecological justice are all part of the same tapestry, and we must think and act in that spirit as well. What we see as well in natural ecosystems that should inspire us as leaders is deep complexity. And the response before complex systems should be ones of humility. So I think it's often a paradoxical relationship between leadership and humility, but I think it's really important that we are aware that the systems, the injustices, the problems we face are not just more complicated than we think, but more complicated than we can think. And that means we should be humble. And finally, and picks up on what Sylvester was saying, the importance of courage. In ecosystems, we see incredible diversity, and all sorts of species have their own gifts and their unique ways of flourishing. And I think that encourages us towards courage in our unique gifts as individuals and our unique gifts as communities, and hope that through emergence, we can make enormous differences as leaders together and individually. So I think I would encourage people through sustainable leadership to take sustainability, the beauty of observing natural ecosystems seriously, and adapt some of those learnings to their own ways of being and thinking. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And just a reminder to everyone in the room, feel free to raise your hand and join the inner circle now as well. And you can either raise your hands in the participants bar or just drop a message in the chat and Nicolas will help you. And now I'm just handing over to Leo, who already joined us in the inner circle. Welcome, Leo.
Hello, Sophie. Thank you for the invite. Hello, everybody. I think I resonate a lot with what the three previous speakers have said, because I think a trend that I see often in our generation is this kind of uncertainty of what am I doing right now, and why is it worth it doing what I'm doing when the whole world is falling apart, right? Where we don't know how long actually human beings will be able to coexist in the planet, right? So I think it's very inspiring as well to see that more and more initiatives and more foundations and organizations are rising kind of through these ashes, and giving people this faith or encouragement to continue and actually remunerate, very important factor about it, to actually gain or earn something from doing what you're passionate about, right? So I think right now we're in a bit of a period where all this uncertainty might lead us to not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we also have to remember that there's a huge shift, not only in the economy, but in mentality and connectivity in the entire world, and that for change to happen, it has to come from somewhere, right? And I think that enough minds are now gathering and saying, you know what, I think it's not, well, to not spoil the word, but it's not sustainable, the way that the world is being run right now, and we have to do something about it, and we can do something about it. I think that's what's the most important. We can, because we just need to, or just need to kind of join forces, unite, and then say, hey, we want this change. And I think that's very inspiring with different forums and workshops like this one, for example, where you see people all over the world that are interested in the same subject. Doesn't matter their background, doesn't matter education, doesn't matter absolutely anything. It's just people that want, let's say, a better or prosperous future for them and future generations. And I think that's something that should be even more encouraged.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Leo. Very, very inspiring thoughts. And I agree so much. And for me, it's always this thought of just in these rooms, it's impressive how often I leave with the feeling of, just re-exploring how much we have in common, and that we actually all want to move into a similar direction with all our individual gifts. And I would also love to hear some other stories, some of your gifts or some of your thoughts you want to share. So please feel free to raise your hand or drop a message in the chat and join us in the inner circle. Welcome, Kilo. Feel free to share your story.
Hello everyone. I'm a final year mechanical engineering student at the University of Nigeria. Um, my journey is um, it's a little bit okay. Let me start from when I first come in contact with the word sustainability. When I first become aware of the word sustainability, that should be around 2016. When I was researching okay, we started having a rise in ICD, the level of ICD clean that we in here in Nigeria. So I started looking towards finding what's the cause of this, and at the end I was able to link it to the oil exploration in that region. And throughout the course of trying to research these things, I came in contact with, I become aware of what climate justice is. I become aware of the UN SDGs, and it was then that actually I started. So in 2018, that's 2 years after, I started the Great to Green movement. The Great to Green movement is a youth-led climate justice and equality advocacy movement. So I started the Great to Green movement. The aim was I was in my third year, the university then, and the aim is to mobilize the collective power of community to mitigate climate change. So that was how it started. And over the course of trying to build the necessary skills to help grow the movement, I have to enroll for various courses, various training that help shape my narrative. And I think one of the turning points I have was coming in contact with the Acumen Academy, which is founded by Jacqueline Novogratz, of where he was a very proponent of building a solution from a position of immersion and empathy. And I think for the better of since then on, whatever I do, I've always been around this thing. Are you building a solution that is sustainable? Are you building a solution from a position of immersion? Are you building a solution from a position of empathy? And that has been what I've been driving, has been my driving force all this while. And currently, in my final year. Engineering is a 5-year course here in Nigeria, so I'm in my final year. I was meant to graduate August this year, but the pandemic, the schools are closed down, and we don't know when the schools are reopening. So hopefully, I'll be graduating next year, and after graduation, looking at pursuing a career in sustainable and renewable energy. Pursuing a master's degree in sustainable and renewable energy, and from there, I'll be open to whatever comes. But I have one thing at the background. Are you building a solution that is sustainable and from a position of empathy and immersion? That's it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Leo, I know that Kilo is also coming from a student initiative, and as far as I know, you're active in an oikos chapter. So what does acting in this environment mean to you, and also how did it adapt through the situation right now where complexity really is hitting in? And meanwhile you're sharing, maybe Marie-Claire can join us as well and share a bit about her work in Switzerland.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry, it's because I cannot unmute myself. But yes, I am currently in the curricular transformation project for Oikos Copenhagen, and I think one of the biggest challenges has been to get students involved. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we've had in terms of this, because the students have a lot of things going on their mind and on their plate. They're doing their courses, and then doing exams, and doing all sorts of other extracurricular activities, which is completely normal and completely understandable. However, I feel like there's not that much awareness of like the level of influence that one can have, not only in their education, but in general, with people in general, right? And I think what we're trying to do here is trying to inform students about the importance of having sustainability in the curriculum, and then together with that, trying to see if we can spark interest and get students to then actually ask for this, ask for sustainability within their courses or within their education. And I think that as being part of this project, we want to do a lot of great things, and we're just yes, we should do this, and we should have this, and blah blah blah. But there's so many levels of bureaucracy that you have to go through. One of them being the faculty, which is extremely hard to come to terms to a lot of the times, because they're in a position where they're highly educated, and they're saying, what do you have to tell me that I don't know, right? And that becomes a bit of a problem sometimes, because we want to do a lot of initiatives, and we do want to do a lot of projects that we wish could just be implemented just like that, because we know that logically it makes sense to have this sort of education in your school, or it makes sense to have these capabilities as part of your skill set as a human being. Nevertheless, I feel like we've come into a bit of a state of apathy, where we kind of like just comply with what is given to us. And I think that it's very challenging to spark this motivation, to get people to actually understand why it's important for them to have sustainability in their education. So I think that's that's a bit of my story on what has been happening here in Copenhagen.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I think this is so important, especially in this challenging times when it's much easier to look away. And this is also how it started for me. So I grew up in a family where everyone was like, my family was quite sustainable. So we have been like staying in Switzerland. We have been hiking a lot. We have been eating like stuff from our garden. And I felt like everyone lives like it. And then I was just like when I went to school later on, and then I just saw that like actually this wasn't normal. So it was kind of normal that people didn't care about nature, and it was normal that people didn't show leadership, responsible leadership, and this was very shocking to me. And yeah, but I felt quite alone, because also where I grew up in the rural part of Switzerland, people just didn't really care, and I was quite alone with my like my desire to make the world a better and more sustainable place, also because I saw like how the glaciers were melting. And then it took me quite a long time until I could really get active, because like where I live, it was just somehow not really possible to get active. And when I went to a bigger city, actually I saw like, oh, there are actually more people who are active, and there are more people who do something. And this was really kind of like when a flower is starting blooming. So I could really check out different opportunities, different topics, different people, and it was kind of the start of my journey. I'm not really sure if the journey started like way earlier, when I realized that something was going on, or if the journey just starts when I actually really put like this sustainability leadership into action. And then from in this case it was Zurich, I could really expand my knowledge, meet new people, new groups, and this was so enriching for myself. And also, like we heard it in the previous statements before, I don't know where this path will lead me, but also I don't care too much, because I care much more about the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. And at the end, it doesn't necessarily is important where I end up, rather where our planet and our like the whole humanity and nature is ending up. So this is like my focus. So I'm kind of taking it like day by day, and I do have plans, and I do have kind of a strategy on leadership and sustainability, but also it's like such a fast changing world. So I think at least myself, I had to train to be like very, very flexible and adapt to the current situation, and as well really push hard for our goals, because yeah, it's very easy to look away, especially now, and it's harder to be a responsible leader, fighting for climate justice, fighting for gender justice, fighting for the implementation of all of the SDGs. And I think this is what makes us stronger, but it's like hard to overcome it initially. But then I think if you once are over this path, then kind of nothing can really stop you. At least that's like how I see it.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, maybe you want to share as well.
Yes, I think I would like to take a bit of a different path than what the others have said, but continuing on the same line, one on how the pandemic is affected, because people spoke that they started before the pandemic, and now they're facing some kind of difficulties during the pandemic. And I think my story is a bit different, because we started, so I'm one of the conveners for the Rethinknomics India network, which is the India chapter of the global Rethinknomics movement. We're working towards trying to make economics more pluralist, more inclusive, and definitely taking sustainability into consideration is one of the premier objectives. And we decided to start during the pandemic. So a lot of us decided to just come together online, virtually. 4 of us decided to come together and start this. We were frustrated on how things were going in India. We were definitely seeing that there was a huge failure in education and how economics education was happening, and a spillover to that in policy. And so we decided to just come together and start virtually. And honestly, starting something like this virtually has helped us engage more people. So I think on action, I have 2 major points to make. One, in terms of engagement, we have had to definitely spread the word a lot, really go into our personal networks, do a lot of social media promotions, etc. But we knew from the start that engaging as many people we have to engage as many students, as many universities, as many professors, sending a lot of cold calls. But definitely that is one major thing, that anything of this behemoth in nature that you need to put in action, engagement is definitely very important. And the second is collective leadership. So there is no one particular leader. I would never say I did something. It has always been, this network was started, 4 of us came together and started it, and I would not have been possible without this would not have been possible if all of us would not have been working on it together. So at the same time, it is very important for you to find like-minded people and move ahead together and make this collective leadership. And at the same time, in order to maintain organizational sustainability, how to maintain that you're, like Kello actually said, how whatever solution you're making, how is it sustainable? So in order to also maintain organizational sustainability and make sure whatever you have put into action continues even when you're not there, is that you make sure that there is somebody else after you, that you are definitely training someone else to come and take it over after you. So I think those are the 2 main points that I wanted to make, and this is something that we're working on together as well. We're very, very nascent. We started out only in June 2020, but these are the things that always keep running at the back of our mind, that yes, once we move out, and at one point we will move out, we have to make sure that somebody else is good enough and pertinent enough to take over and maintain the organization and the cause that we're working towards.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. And like, you're going to come back later as well to open the second round. That's great. So now we have Vicky also, who wants to share something.
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, so because I have another meeting later on, literally just in 10 minutes, I want to share my thoughts at this moment. For me, sustainability means 2 points. So first one would be the social responsibility side, for example, like the environmental side. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, all of the Chinese companies, like those private ones, the medium-sized business, they won't care so much about the environment effect. They would like to get as much money as they want, which I call the quick money. So they would like to target at the right market rather than pay attention on the environment issues which could potentially cause. Like for example, like my company, we are the importer for also the exclusive dealers for the American brand and for some other British brand as well. But when we do the package, we don't really care about the material of the package. Like it's just the usual cardboard we are using, but we can actually turn it into the recycled ones. Well, I try to argue with the person, like our manager, but they don't take it into consideration. They will think, wow, the cost is gonna be raised if we take your advice. They just don't care. Well, that's one of the point I want to raise. And another thought would be the sustainability in terms of the organization. Also, like there are a lot of groups like the page group and the other group. They do a lot of labor contract, which means you finish the temporary ones. They only offer you 15 months employment contract and then it's done, or perhaps like 8 months or even shorter. Well, in my point of view, it's not really good for the employee. Once they've done this job, what are they going to do? There's no any other things to secure the position for this particular employee. But again, I'd say the turnover rate in, well, at least in Shanghai, as far as I know, is pretty much high. And yeah, so that's the sustainability inside the organization from which I've seen. Yeah, that's the 2 points I want to share. Thank you.
And like it's such different insights from what the others shared. So I appreciate that sharing so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And
yeah, thank you.
Have a great meeting later as well. And thanks for sharing it now.
Yeah. I'm very grateful to get in touch with your organization.
Happy to have you with us. And now we actually also might want to start moving into the second round of the Fishbowl. So, and to kind of activate all of you and make sure that you're all awake, let's do something a bit more interactive again. No worries, we're not gonna dance today. That's gonna happen on Tuesday night in the Oops space. So warm invitation to join that as well. But maybe, yeah, one question that I heard in most of your sharings at some point as well, and it's also a question that moves me or moved me over the years when thinking about doing part, was where to start actually. Where do we start? Yeah, moving from this sense of powerlessness where we see, think, oh, we cannot have an impact, but how can we get actually into the action, really make things happen? And one thing we at oikos, our student organization, what we always bring up is, well, like, let's start where we actually are. And for many of us here in the room, it's our schools and universities, right? It's our education. And some of you here might be faculty, some might be professionals, or not even in university yet. But when thinking of your education or your learning in general, is there an environment that equips you with the competencies you feel you need to master the challenges of the 21st century? Do you feel like a leader when leaving the classroom or the workplace? And is it fun? Do you feel alive in school? So what we prepared is a little poll. Like I would ask Nicolas to quickly share the poll with us, to just have a kind of a barometer of the room, how you feel about these questions. Nicolas, does that work?
I've shared it already. Can you see it?
Okay, perfect. So then you, I cannot see it because I'm a co-host. Can everyone else see it and take the poll?
People are voting now, so I guess they can.
Perfect, awesome. Then maybe you might want to share your screen for a second, Nicolas, with the results, because I cannot see them actually.
But do you want me to share the results now?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay, give me just 1 second. Because to share the results, I need to end the polling. So if we wait 1 more second, maybe everyone can vote, and then I can share the results with everyone.
Thanks. It's all these Zoom subtleties we all first have to figure out. Thanks for your patience, guys. So how does it look like, Nicolas? Did everyone take the poll?
Yes, most people took the poll already.
Great. Thanks for the sign, George. And I don't feel like that alone here.
Okay, I'm sharing the results now.
Yes, please.
Can you see them now?
I hope everyone else can see it. I cannot see it, but what do you see, Nicolas? Maybe you can share it a bit with us. What is the results? What does it look like in general?
Sure. So question number 1. Does your education equip you with competencies to address global societal challenges? 18% said yes, 59% said to some extent, and 24% said no. Question number 2. Does your education spark responsible leadership? 47% said yes, 24% said to some extent, and 29% said no. And finally, do you feel alive in the classroom? 24% said yeah, 65% said sometimes, 6% said nope, and 6% said I don't know.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for improvising as well. Let me get back to the slides and just just from this little poll, I would just it can show us that there is still scope to change, and that we actually can bring about change, and that there is different ways to shift the systems. And at oikos, we really try to make deep change happen and transformation happen, as we are part of this system, a part of a university environment, and we can contribute to change on different levels. And we often use the picture of an iceberg to explain that, and it can help us to understand a bit more on which levels we have to start, so that we actually can have a real shift happening in the end and in the events that we observe on the surface. So, and one level of the change, which actually has already been mentioned by Leo, is really on the structures levels, where we have a powerful place to change the curriculum, to start redesigning of what and how we learn. And I know that there are some more oikos and some more experts in the room who actually started doing this work and have some stories to share. So therefore, also enough of theory and framing from my side. Let's actually listen to these voices and start the second round of the Fishbowl conversation. This is our second question to start with. How can students take ownership of their education and activate change on campus? So welcome to Carl, Yaya, Leo, and Marie-Claire as the starting circle of this round of the Fishbowl. The floor is yours, and who would like to start sharing their story for 1 or 2 minutes? Leo.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity again. I'm just gonna do a quick recap of my perspective on sustainability and education. So first of all, I think that we are very privileged here in Denmark and CBS, because there are very strong democratic values, not only nationwide, but in every institution. So that gives us a relative strong influence to students, right? It gives students like a relatively strong influence over what they have to do. But I say relatively because of 2 points. First of all, we have the chance to influence the program and the general direction of the university, which doesn't happen in many countries. And we can do so by joining several political bodies across the institution. Nevertheless, very few students are actually informed that there is an access to such a privilege, right? And what sort of influence comes with that position in that political body. And this could be because maybe the majority of the students are used to kind of like passively absorbing information and are compliant with what is given to them in a top-bottom manner. And well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the current educational system, right? And it's still based very much of an industrial revolution where you want a production worker at the end of the day that doesn't ask questions and just delivers what you give them whenever you ask for it. I believe that if people were informed, they would hopefully take a more proactive stance towards their education and also their environment in general, the social environment. And I think that's something that I've learned throughout these years of being in political bodies or bodies of influence within university and being in seminars and workshops and different meetings where we discuss the improvement of education in general, is that, well, the faculty, they're very interested in doing their best for students, right? They really want to provide the knowledge that they have towards students. However, well, if we can see this, for example, as the professors giving a service, right, a mass service, an educational service towards students, and then the students being the users, you know, I imagine how it could be that if education were to be developed in the same way as apps are developed today, with like a reliable feedback loop, where, you know, the developer says, okay, this is a product that we have, or that would be the teacher, no, this is the information that we're going to give you, and then the student says, okay, is this actually relevant? Is this making me interested? Is it, you know, having this feedback loop from the student saying, okay, is your method of teaching actually working or not? And I think that if we were to think about education in the same way as developing through a continuous feedback loop, that could open a more like a pathway towards collaboration with the faculty, between the student body and the faculty. I think that unfortunately students tend to be quite apathetic and don't care much about what could be improved, whether it's within their education or in societal terms. A lot of people think that they're insignificant, or that their opinions will not make a change in the grand scheme of things. And I think that that's something that is crucial to mitigate, right? To get rid of the people of the notion that they cannot do anything, or that their voice is too small, or that their grain of sand will never amount to anything. I think that's crucial to really mitigate now, so we can move forward. And then for that, to my final point, that I think that it's my firm belief that if students were to unite and produce quantitative evidence. So quantitative evidence, I mean surveys, workshops, signatures, you know, among students, you know, taking a much more bottom-up approach, you know, so from students to students, gathering all this evidence, quantitative evidence, we can start a collaboration and a co-creative environment to improve both education and society.
Yeah, thank you, Leo, for sharing. And I completely agree on everything what you have been saying. It's exactly the same in Switzerland. And yeah, maybe like so how students can take ownership, or maybe like also my example, like how I took this ownership. I don't know exactly where I picked this up, but I learned about like the 5 C's, and I want to share them with you, which kind of led me through my university. I'm doing my master's now, but led me through my education, trying to take ownership whenever I felt the need that there is need to take ownership. And honestly, it was probably every lesson I felt that we have to take some ownership. And so there are like 5 C's. I can also copy paste them in the chat so you have them. But so basically the first one is starting with, okay, let me paste it so you have it, is with clarity. So I think it's really important that we understand, or that I like have been doing also like a lot of self-awareness. Okay, where do we have to go? So what is the goal actually? For this we have been, or I have been doing, and we also in the group have been doing it, like what is the vision for our university? How should our education look like? So we have been drawing a vision 2030 for our universities, which gave me a lot of clarity where I have to go, or what we have to demand. And so then this comes also with commitment. This was also already mentioned by Leo. So it needs a lot of commitment from the student. It's quite a lot of time, a lot of responsibility, which is coming with it. It's not always the most easiest, as I've been mentioning in my previous intervention. And I think, yeah, it can be really hard, especially when you have been very like intimidated by high level people, so like the president or the director of board, like the board of directors. At least for me, like all these old guys were very intimidating, until I really learned that actually, yeah, I can make a change, but it needs a lot of commitment. Of course, it needs a lot of competences on what you're actually demanding. Sometimes I have been invited somewhere, I didn't know all the facts, and I felt, oh my God, like I don't know enough about it. I also learned later on that actually not everyone knows, even professors don't know everything. But it also took me quite a long time until realizing that one doesn't need to know everything, but it's good to have a lot of competences, and also not only the ones you're actually learning at university. It's not all about the hard facts. Even if you know all the hard facts, it's not going to make you succeed. So there are also a lot of other competences we can learn through the oikos community, to other communities. And I think this is really important also to the next gen leadership program. A lot of it like named under the soft skills, but I actually wouldn't say it like a soft skill, because I think actually these are like the hard skills we are needing right now, more than ever, like which comes with compassion and everything. And then the fourth one is about courage. I have been touching upon very quickly before, but when I was the first time invited by the president of the university, I was like sweating, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to say, and they're going to ask me very, very challenging questions. I wanted to like just quit the meeting, but I went with some friends and it was really good. And I think this is exactly the courage we need. And also this comes with the last point about the community. We need a community encouraging each other to go further, to do what we think is impossible, to go beyond our boundaries where we feel uncomfortable, because I think this is like where the real change, the transformation is going to happen. It's very unlikely in the world today that we can make the transformation and the big change within the system we are living, within our education system, which is in a lot of cases, very, very broken. So the courage for me really comes through the community. So I'm happy to have people like you today here to spend my Saturday afternoon with. It's like so encouraging to have them in Switzerland, but also to have a network all around the world. So these were like my 5 C's. I've probably picked them up in like I don't know what book. And they were really helpful to take this ownership to really activate change, and I hope that they can also help you. And my very, very last point, be always human. And I think if we would all be more human with each other, we would not be where we are today. So don't try to be like someone else, be yourself with all your maybe imperfectness, but all with all your strengths. Yeah, that's from my side.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing these hands-on like recommendations as well, and the 5 C's. I think they're super on point. Who would like to go on from our starting circle?
Yeah, I can go. I think first of all, thank you, Mari. I think those 5 C's were, I completely agree with all of them. And I will focus almost exclusively on curriculum change. And just the terminology, curriculum change is overwhelming. And especially in a country like India, our education system is very rigid. It operates very, very differently from how it does in any and every Western or European country. It's easy to engage students, but it's not easy to bring change. So we started, so I'll share our story, that is the Rethinknomics India network, we started with the aim of definitely bringing about a curriculum reform in economics. We are frustrated with the whole hegemony of neoliberal discourse, with the omnipresence of the global north, Eurocentric perspectives, which do not have a whole lot of applicability in the Indian or the global south context. And like I've mentioned before, there's a spillover of academic failures into policy, which were really brought into the forefront during this pandemic in India. And so we decided to come together and we decided to start this network in June itself, and take up this behemoth of an objective that yes, we want to bring about curriculum reform. And we were all definitely very, very confused into where to start, who to go to, what is like something Mari said, that what is the demand that you have, where should the changes come in. And there were a lot of ideas that flew in, but then we decided what was important is to streamline and start small and be okay with the fact that you're starting small. So we started first with engagement. Engaging as many students is very, very important. And we did realize that a lot of students in India are as frustrated as we are. I mean, I'm not a student anymore, but I remember that when I was studying economics, I was looking at all those models and I was thinking about where would I even apply these things. So we found a lot of students who are as frustrated as we are and they wanted to bring about the change. So we got them all in the network, and we're also trying to expand to universities. So we're not only operating as, yes, you become a volunteer with us and then you work. We're also encouraging them to start their own chapter or their own association in the university and take it forward from there. Be autonomous, fall under the affiliate, we'll guide you, we'll give you whatever help you need, and take the cause forward. That is one way. The second way, in terms of concrete curriculum reform, is that we are trying to understand from these students itself, what is that you think need to change. But at the same time, we're trying to engage professors who are working in this, Indian professors who are working in this heterodox and pluralist space. We're trying to get them on board as mentors, because they're the ones who can actually tell us what in terms of the syllabus needs to change. And we're trying to get them on board. They're providing us with leadership, with strategic guidance. And we have started. Right now, we have built a repository of resources of pluralist and heterodox economics. It's in the process. We're collating resources. It's going to be a non-exhaustive repository. And we're getting resources from everywhere and anywhere on all genres. So be it labor, be it gender, be it climate, environment, anything and everything that will help facilitate the teaching and learning. Because curriculum reform, you need to first start with awareness. And for us ourselves, we need to be aware. We don't know. Definitely, there's so much that we don't know, and there's so much that we can know. So first of all, it comes with awareness. First of all, just trying to get to know what are the different aspects. And then once we have these resources, once we understand, once we identify the gaps, and then moving into slowly drafting one by one, probably like topic by topic on different types of economics, and then slowly moving into policy advocacy. This is going to be a long drawn process. It's very ambitious and it's not going to be easy in India. Like Leo said, maybe in Denmark, probably it's easy with the whole, you can get into the political parties. It's not that easy in India, not at all. It's a very rigid system. So we know we have taken upon ourselves a very behemoth task. But like it was mentioned, where do you start? You have to start somewhere if you do want to bring in change. So we've started somewhere, and we hope that with these small steps at the end, we're able to reach the goal and bring about an actual alternate curriculum into India.
Super fascinating and great work, and all the baby steps are so important. So thanks for picking that up and bringing it to India. And maybe Carl could share a bit how curriculum change does look like in Vienna and what you experienced there. What are your challenges?
Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, thank you from the insights from India. I would say Austria looks also a little bit different than India and more similar to what is happening in Copenhagen right now. our university provides some sort of sustainability related lectures, and also some lecturers already have picked up this topic. But so our goal was, or our goal is, to bring this topic in the center of economics, because it's not important to have a lecture about sustainability. It's also applying this knowledge into the whole framework of economics and business. So this is our overall goal, that we will reach out, or trying to reach out to every lecturer at the university and bachelor program, and trying to convince them to bring this central part of, I would say, our future years into university and into the lectures. And yeah, it was also hard to make the first steps for us, but what we experienced as a group was that if you're starting to see a problem and then presenting it in, I would call it the solution space. So if you're approaching the university and telling them not that they are doing something wrong, but that you can assist them to improve something, then the ears are much more open to you, and university is listening much carefully for you. And that's what I experienced during this process, that if you're coming up with solution and not staying in the problem or like a judgment blaming in space, then you're getting a much stronger voice. And yeah, currently we're working to improve the English lecture at the university, which is really exciting and also interesting, because in the first hand, it's not really related to sustainability at all. But now, as we have started the process, it's extremely interesting that even a topic so far away from what normal say sustainability has so much space for it, and also is providing so much like connections to other topics where we like discovered so much, or so many new things to implement in other lectures, was astonishing. And I would say this is my outcoming currently from this project, to stay in this solution space and not saying you're doing something wrong. Thank you.
Super nice. I think it's definitely you got a point there with seeing where is the entry bar and where is the leverage point to then move ahead there, and like being creative and on the way as well. Super nice. Stephen, you're also in the inner circle. Do you want to share with us?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, sorry, the dogs are my little, you probably got to see a second ago. But one thing I wanted to focus on, the comments everyone has been sharing has been so good here. And it's that last piece about community, of those 5 C's that Marie Claire shared, of how as responsible leaders, we have an opportunity to craft our community, to deliberately choose who we are keeping around and who we're learning from. And, you know, by joining Oikos, by being on this call here, I think all of you are doing that you're trying to create a space within which you can learn and operate to be better leaders. And I wanted to encourage to think about that as of where you're spending your time and who you're trying to keep around you. This is an opportunity for you to learn from those people and really grow.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this beautiful reminder that community actually is that what carries us through all of the difficulties of our times. And yeah, maybe this is also a good point to just like close with an invitation to keep on joining events of the NexGenLead, but also to join Oikos, to stay in touch with Oikos, either by joining a local chapter or by connecting to the global community. And it's also time to hand over to Lenka to close our conversation now. Over to you, And thanks for the nice conversation, guys.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, everyone. It's been amazing to listen to all of you. And I'm really grateful and honored that I can be part of this learning community, as you mentioned, and learning from you and with you. And like the third week will be about taking the ownership of your education. And what I see and observe here is that you have already decided to do it and you are doing it. And your stories speak for you. And it's really nice. Perhaps I'd like to bring this personal perspective towards a bigger strategic picture and share with you just a short summary of why it is so important that you take the ownership of your education, no matter if it's university, economics and management, which is main focus on oikos, or if it is your workspace, if it is your high school, if it is your community. And then Sophie, if you please could share the slide where I summarized some of key points why I think that your impact as a responsible leader can go far, far beyond you if you take the ownership of your education and if you act at the institutions where you are based. And obviously you have a long-term impact on students or professors if you are at university, on administration and top management of your companies. And you really start shaping the whole organizations. And that's super powerful. Also, you shape the whole process, how education is developed by adding the bottom-up perspective of it, by adding the perspective that you as an individual can contribute to whole system and shape it, often from a bottom up. And lastly, if you start creative conversations at your university, at your workspace, you inspire other people to do so. And by walking the talk, you are the best inspiration globally. And people will follow the similar path. So that's why I feel that it's so great that we met at this virtual space of NexGenLead. And I'm really happy that we can dive together for the third week into the transformative actions of our education. And as I already mentioned at the beginning, I serve as the curriculum strategy manager in oikos. And my role is actually to support people who decide to transform their education and to support oikos community and all of you next week, together with Nicolas, who is today the virtual space manager on the chat, also with Jay Christopher, who will be joining you for the third week. And basically, we are here for you. We are offering resources on alternative economic theories for those of you who are interested in economics or management, and some of you are. We will offer you student stories, stories of people which are really powerful, who decided to transform their education, and some of them were truly successful in that. And I believe it's a great inspiration. Also, there will be interviews with professors, teachers who innovate their lectures, who go deep in their in bringing transdisciplinary perspective in their lessons, etc. We will be also happy to meet you virtually during the OOP space. We will also offer you a workshop on curriculum change, which will be next week on 18th of November at 7 p.m. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing you there. And of course, we'll see each other at the closing ceremony. Besides these events and resources, we will be here for you via chat on Discord. So please feel free to get in touch and discuss, share, and yeah, whatever you need, we will be happy to help you and support you. So looking forward to the next week. And I believe, Sophie, am I correct, that now it's time to give space to our visual harvester?
Exactly. Christina, are you ready to share with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Give me 1 minute. I am just sorting this out. I had a bit of a computer issue halfway through, so my machine crashed about 10 minutes ago. So give me a sec. I should be able to share in 1 minute.
No worries. In the meantime, maybe everyone can put on their camera again so that we can see each other. See the diversity in the room. That feels good, not to be alone on a screen. Perfect. And maybe we can also take the minute, like I think over the past two weeks, we already learned that we can use time for different things, for example, for some stretching. So just like be free to make whatever movement you need now. What does your body tell you? What do you need? Oh, my back tells me that I should go run later. I see some nodding heads. So you guys find your running gear and get out there. Here it's super sunny. I don't know what time it is for you or where you are, but I'm sending you some sunshine as well. And more people joining with their videos, that's great. Christina, you just give us a sign when you're ready. And until that, we just like keep.
Yes, almost there. I should have just joined with my machine. I'm on my computer now. I'm trying to open the images. I'm going to figure out how to do this actually. You know what, Sophie? Do you think it makes sense for me to email this to you?
I'm having do that.
Let me just. Sorry about that.
No worries. So maybe to explain a bit also the thing we're doing right now, visual harvesting, what is that? So in general, we know that taking notes is super important in order to kind of bring things into action, because if you're just having meeting, if you're just hearing thoughts, like, and we're having so many meetings these days, it's like really rare that really something happens after. So next to the talking, we also need to kind of make sure that what has been like said is kind of harvested, is kind of gathered in a way which is useful for us. And here at Oikos and at NexGenLead, we really believe that there's not just one way, and it doesn't always have to be words. And therefore, we really like this version of having a creative approach, kind of using arts. And Christina is a great artist, so I'm really excited to see it actually. Christina, did you send it to my Oikos email or my private one?
I sent it to your Oikos email, and I think I might actually be able to open this. Okay. Okay, well, I've been able to open them on my computer. At least that's part of a... So maybe if I can... Oh, sorry, guys, I had like the most unfortunate computer crash time. Okay, so I'm actually, how about this? So I can share my computer screen. So if someone can make the other Christina G the presenter, the one with my picture, then I will be able to share my screen and to show the image.
Beautiful.
I made you already the co-host.
Okay, so here we go, finally. Right, so hi guys, hopefully, yay, you can see my screen. Okay, so this is just a little summary of a conversation we had at the beginning. So here we have a bit of our introduction, who we are, and our stance on the leadership, and then I've summarized the conversation around what does it mean to you to put sustainability leadership into action. And we saw a discussion around the journey, the fact that you might not really know where you're going, but you need to go, and this requires courage, being ready to go into action, some awareness. We talked about the importance of self-awareness, and that this self-awareness comes from the awareness of the outside world and the things that might be going wrong, but also that in order to understand ourselves and how we can be effective as leaders, we need to look at natural ecosystems, connection, complexity, coverage. We talked a lot about the community and connection between different individuals, and the things that need to feed into solutions, such as empathy, actual holistic images of and ideas around sustainability, and of course this idea of collective leadership, and the fact that this pandemic might have been a difficult situation, but it's putting people into connection around the globe and actually leading to more meaningful conversations. We talked about the importance of having legacy for newcomers, having conversations around the future and what it holds. And then we talked a little bit about the educational challenges. So this was the first part of the conversation. And then, let me get the second part up, which I just had here. Sorry, there we go. So we talked about kind of this iceberg model.
I cannot see it, Christina, yet. You have to change the screen you're sharing.
Yes, okay. I thought, sorry guys, give me a second. It says my screen sharing has paused. So do I need to share screen again? Let me share again. Is this better? Okay, so this is just the last half an hour of the conversation about how can students take ownership around education. So here we talked a bit more about actually how the educators and students can work together, the idea of feedback loops, and actually what stands in the way of this symbiotic relationship can be apathy on the student part. We talked about the elements of ownership, such as clarity, the competencies, the courage, and the importance of community. We talked about not knowing where to start and the need to take small steps, and the importance of talking about solutions rather than about just the problems. And this image here about the fact that sustainability needs to link back to economic and business education, and the importance of ideas, then sharing ideas again, and the solutions. So that's that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. You're such an artist, and we're really grateful to have your support here. Yeah, and so with this, we're definitely going to digitalize that and send it to all of you who participated today as well. So keep on watching Discord or the other NexGenLead channels where we're going to publish that. Yeah, and with that, back to Lenka to kind of close today, huh?
Yeah, very quickly, last question. So what are you taking with you from this fishbowl for the next week? Feel free to share in the chat. And with that, I want to thank you so much for taking your time today and for actively participating and sharing and harvesting. It was fun and great pleasure.